Alright, here's the Unit 1 review. So we'll take a look at that, get working. So first thing, identify terms, factors, coefficients, and constants. So terms, remember, look for pluses, minuses, equals, and terms are usually in between those. So we have one term, 2, 3 terms here. For number 2, there's 2 terms. For number 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4, so 4 terms. Number 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4 as well. Okay, so a coefficient with a variable is a term. So coefficients would be the numbers with the variables. So 6 and 5, 8. Okay, not the numbers. -7, -4, and 9. And on number 4, the coefficients, 10, -5, technically that's a 1, and a 7. Okay, the constants are just the numbers, so 9 would be a constant. -7 would be a constant. -2 would be a constant. And there is no constant on this one, because there is no just number. And finally, the last one, factors. Factors are things multiplied. So 6x squared is a factor, 5x is a factor, so there's 2 of them. 8r squared is a factor, so there's 1. -7m is a factor, -4m, and -9n. So there's 3 factors. And the last one, all 4 terms are factors. Okay, so that's dealing with those. Alright. Okay, now solve each equation and justify the steps. So we're going to need to justify what properties of equality we can use to solve these. Okay, so first thing we do here is times 9 to both sides using the multiplication property of equality. Okay, so we get 9 equals r minus 2. Then add 2, and we get 11 equals r, and we use the addition property of equality. Okay, now the multiplicative identity property 1 and additive identity, not too worried about those, but if you remember those, remember that adds a few steps in, and I'll show you on this one. So multiplication property of equality, which that becomes 1, so 1 times r minus 2, that multiplicative identity of 1 would then allow that to just be r minus 2. Then add 2 with the addition property of equality, giving us 11 equals r plus 0. Then the additive identity of 0 makes it just r equals 11, because we can drop off that 0. But I'm not too worried about those ones. I'm more worried about the properties of equality. So I'd subtract 4 to both sides, giving me -150 equals -10x. Divide by -10. We get positive 15 equals x. And we use the subtraction property of equality and the division property of equality. Again, after the subtraction, we could have used the additive identity, and after the division, the multiplicative identity, to get rid of those pieces. Okay, number 7, we distribute that through using the distributive property of equality, giving us positive 6 minus 3b equals -51. Subtract 6, giving us -57, using the subtraction property of equality. We would have 6 minus 6 is 0, but we get rid of 0 with that additive identity if you wanted to use it. Divide by -3 on both sides, and we get b equals 19. Positive 19, yep. So use the division property of equality, and I could have that would have been 1b, and we get rid of the 1b with the multiplicative identity, which you could have added in. Okay, number 8, subtract by 6 on both sides. Becomes 0. We drop 0 because of the additive identity, but we use the subtraction property of equality. Equals -6 times by 3. Using the multiplication property of equality, that becomes 1. Multiplicative identity means we can drop it, and we get n equals -18. Okay. Number 9, to get the variables, I can add a 6r to both sides using the addition property of equality. That gives me just 0, which the additive identity gets rid of it. So just 9. -8 plus 6 is -2r. Subtract 3. The subtraction property of equality. Okay, giving me -2r plus 0, but I dropped the 0. 9 minus 3 is 6. Divide by -2 using the division property of equality. And we get 1r, which we can just write as r, equals -3. And that multiplicative identity lets us just write it as the -r. Okay, here 4p and a positive p combine to make 5p minus 6 equals 24. We just simplified to do that. Add 6. So we get 30 equals 5p plus 0, but we use the addition property of equality and then the additive identity to drop the 0. Divide by 5, and we get p equals 6. Technically 1p, but that multiplicative identity drops that off, and we use the division property of equality here. And that's all it takes to write the reasonings, justifications. So now, solving each equation, some literal equations, trying to get x by itself. So I subtract m from both sides, and I get x equals n minus p minus m, because I can't combine any of those. For 12, solving for a, first I'd subtract b to get z minus b equals am. Divide by m. We get z minus b over m equals a. We solved for that one. Okay, now we're going to do some inequalities and graph them. To solve inequalities, we basically do the same thing that we did for an equation. So I times both sides by 28, giving me x minus 8 is less than or equal to -28. Add 8 to both sides. X is less than or equal to 20, negative. So I put a circle at -20. Mine has an equal to here at the bottom, so I fill the circle in because -20 is part of the answer. Then x is less than, it's smaller. Smaller is always to the left, greater is always to the right. 14, I can start with distributing. 20 is less than or equal to positive 50 minus 10a. Subtract 50. -30 is less than or equal to -10a. And here's one of the two differences when we're solving inequalities. When I divide here by a negative, that's going to change this -30 to a positive 3. My -a to a positive. So that inequality has to be flipped. So 3 is greater than or equal to a. So at 3, draw a filled-in circle. 3 is bigger, the variable is smaller, so I shade to the left. Number 15, we would add 4 to both sides, giving us -72. It's less than or equal to -8a. Divide by -8. I get a. Because again, that's negatives, changing them to positives, and that's 9, positive 9. We rearrange the inequality, reverse its direction. So at 9, it's equal to, so I fill in the circle. 9 is bigger, a is smaller, so I shade to the left. 16, we'd subtract 8, giving us 2 is greater than x over 5, times by 5. 10 is greater than x. So a hollow circle at 10, because it's not equal to, and again, x is smaller, so I shade to the left. If x were bigger, we'd be shading to the right. Now, compound and absolute value inequalities we haven't talked about in class. I'll do them just so you see them. but you don't need to worry about having them done. Questions like this on the test will be thrown out for us, so you don't have to worry about that. But in case you want to know, with a compound, I just solve this for both sides. So I'd subtract 4 from both sides, giving me negative 8 is less than or equal to r is less than negative 4. So at negative 8, I draw a filled-in circle. R is bigger, so I shade to the right. But at negative 4, r is less than it. It's a hollow circle because it's not equal to. So it's just between negative 8 and negative 4. So I just shade that spot. For 18, first I would solve the one on the left. So m, I have plus 5. So m is less than or equal to negative 14 plus 5 is negative 9. So at negative 9, fill the in circle because it's equal to. M is less than, shade to the left. Then the other section, I subtract 7, so m is greater than negative 7 plus 3, or 3 minus 7, will give us negative 4. So hollow circle of 4, m is bigger, so we shade to the right. So instead, this time, I have a middle section that isn't part of the answer. Either side is, or I have one that is in the middle. For absolute value, what you do is you take the inequality and write it twice. Because absolute values take negative numbers and make them positive, I flip the inequality and make a negative answer, and then I just do both of them. So subtract 7. So x is less than or equal to negative 3, and x is greater than or equal to negative 11. So at negative 3, filled in circles for both, negative 3 and negative 11. X is smaller than negative 3, but bigger than negative 11. So it looks like that. Again, I just split this up into 2, drop the inequality, so negative 5x is greater than 50, keep it the same, and negative 5x, make the other side negative, and change the direction of the inequality. But I'm going to divide by negative 5, so actually I change the direction of the inequality again. Divide by negative 5, and I get x is less than or equal to negative 10, and x is greater than positive 10. So positive 10, hollow circle, x is bigger to the right. Negative 10, another hollow circle, x is less than, shade to the left. That's how you deal with those guys. Okay, now we want to write an expression to represent the situation. So Old Mother Hubbard filled her cupboards when she found an amazing deal at the grocery store. She bought 12 cases of oatmeal and received a 23% discount. Tax for a shopping spree was $9.62. Okay, so we don't know the cost, so the cost of each oatmeal we'll call x. So I bought 12 cases of oatmeal, so I'd go 12 times x. Then I subtract from that a 23% discount. So 0.23 of that 12x is discounted. Then I add on my taxes. Okay, so to simplify, I can multiply those together. So 0.23 times 12 gives us $2.76, which I can then subtract because they both have x's. So I can go 12 minus $2.76. I get $9.24 times x, then add my tax, and there's my simplified expression. Okay, 22. College tuition is $672 for every credit, but a local college will give you a 3% discount if you pay your tuition wow, it's interesting, in full by the end of the first week of school. So, depending on how many credits for C, it's $672 per credit, so 672 times C, plus subtract from that a 3% discount, so minus 0.03 of that 672C, and we get the same thing. So 0.03 times 672 is $20.16, which I subtract from the 672. So So it ends up being about $651.84 per credit. 23, you buy 5 concert tickets and have to pay % tax plus a $20 online convenience fee. So I pay the $20 first. I add to that my 5 concert tickets, we'll call T for tickets. And then we also have to pay the 8% tax. Okay? So plus 0.08 of the cost of the concert tickets. Okay? So, again, I go 0.08 times 5, so that's 0.4t, which I add to 5t, so I get $20 plus 5.4t. Okay, now we're going to write an equation or an inequality and solve it, okay? So a cable company charges a one-time $30 installation fee and charges a monthly rate for service. After 6 months with this cable company, Eliza spends $510 on cable. What is the company's monthly rate? Well, there's quite a few typos here, huh? So what's the company's monthly rate? So we'll call it M for monthly rate. Okay, so I know in that 6 months I only paid $30 once. I know that after 6 months I spent $510. So 510 is equal to the $30 I paid plus the monthly fee. But I added that monthly fee 6 times, right? So I can write it out like this, or just realize that I can just go 6 times m, and there's my equation. Okay, so then to solve, subtract 30 first. So 510 minus 30 is 480 equals 6m. Divide by 6, and I get 8. 80 actually equals m. So the monthly rate is $80 a month. 25. You have $372 in savings and you make $12 an hour. You need to have at least $2,051 this month to pay all of your bills. What is the minimum number of hours you need to work to make your budget this month? So we need at least $2,051. Okay, so what I want to make wants to be bigger than that 2,051. So here's an inequality. Okay, so I go 2,051 is less than. Now I already have 372 in there. Hopefully I'm going to make enough that I don't have to use that, but if I didn't, I have that and I add to it the $12 I make per hour. So hours is how much I need to see how many I make, so I go 12 times h, because 12 is what's going to change. So then I subtract by 372 here. Okay, and I go 2051 minus 372, which is 1679 is less than 12h. So divide by 12. So divide that by 12, and we get, 1679 divided by 12. Give us 139.9, so less than h. So basically, I need to work at least 140 hours, don't I? Or more. Okay, 26. Only 3 more to go. You bought 3 pairs of pants and received a 5%, is that a 5% discount? Yes. After paying $8 in taxes, your total came to $90.65. How much was each pair of pants? Okay, so the cost of pants we'll call P. So the total cost of those pants was 3P. Okay, and we received a 5% discount on that and then paid the $8 in taxes. So our total is 90.65. Okay, that's equal to the $8 we paid plus the cost of the pants minus the 5% discount on those pants. Okay, so first I want to simplify. 0.05 times 3 is 15, so 0.15. So 0.15p. So I want to subtract that from 3. So I get 90.65 equals 8 plus 2.85p. Okay, subtract 8. So 90.65 minus 8 is 82.65 equals 2.85p. Divide by 2.85 on both sides. We end up with 29 equals p. So each pair of pants cost me $29. Okay, 27. You buy 5 concert tickets and have to pay 8% tax plus a $20 online convenience fee. You spent a total of $209. How much did you pay in taxes? So if we look at that, it's basically what we did up here, right? So we've kind of already figured that out. So I'm going to use that. No sense doing it a second time. So 20 plus 5.4t is going to equal 209. Okay. All right. So then we'd subtract by 20. 5.4t would equal 209 minus 20, giving us 189. Divide by 5.4, and we get t equals 35. So we paid $35 in taxes. Actually, that would be how much each ticket cost, wouldn't it? Because T was tickets. So if that's the cost of tickets, then we'd pay the tax, right, was this guy. So if that's, so I'd go 5 times 35. So there's more to this. Okay. It'd be 175. And then I times by 0.08. That gives me 14. So it was actually $14 in taxes. Almost did not notice that. Okay, last one. Larry wants to buy t-shirts from a hip new online store where t-shirts cost only $7 each. It will cost $11 to ship to his location, and he can spend no more than $67. How many t-shirts can he buy? So he has a limit of 67, which means 67 has to be bigger than or equal to whatever he's going to do. Okay? Because he can spend that amount, but no more. So $11 shipping, that's for everything he ships, so that won't change. Plus the $7 per t-shirt, which that will change, so we'll call it T for t-shirt. So there's my inequality. So I subtract by 11, so that would give me 56. It's greater than or equal to 7t. Divide by 7, we get 8 is greater than or equal to t, which means he can buy up to 8 shirts or less, depending on if he wants to use all his money. Okay? So there's the review. Hopefully you'll be able to do well with that and be ready for that test. Okay?